Now picture this, you're applying for roles on LinkedIn, you're looking through the job postings and you're seeing postings for roles like senior project manager, change lead, commercial analyst roles, program manager roles. You don't actually know what you should be applying for. Now, this is a phenomenon called analysis paralysis, and you've probably experienced this yourself if you're a Big Four consultant watching this, wanting to move into industry. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about what analysis paralysis actually is, why it occurs, and how you can escape it using an operator framework that I personally developed. Now, for anyone new here, my name is George. I spent 8 years at the Big Four in both London and Sydney before landing a senior industry role in just 5 weeks. So let's just talk a little bit about what analysis paralysis actually is and why it occurs. So if you're interested in industry roles and you're working at the Big Four, or you've just left the Big Four very recently, you're probably aware of what I'm talking about. It's where that your particular title at the Big Four, if you're a consultant, senior consultant manager, up to director kind of grade, doesn't necessarily translate straight into industry roles. The spectrum and the delineation up the corporate ladder in industry is different to the Big Four, where there's just a straight line of command, and you don't know what roles you should actually be applying for. In consulting, you would have likely worked across projects, across different industries, across geographies, doing different roles. You might have been a project manager in one, you might have been a change manager in another project, right? It depends what you would have been staffed on during your tenure at the firm in particular. And so when you're applying for industry roles, it's quite easy to get confused. You're like, right, I've done a bit of BA stuff, I've done some PM stuff, I've done some change management stuff. What am I most qualified for, and what should I actually be applying for? And you're probably stuck in the cycle where if you are looking for an exit to industry, you're looking for roles during a quiet period. You start looking for roles during a quiet period, and then you get staffed on a project, and then it gets put to a back seat, and then you're kind of in this boom and bust cycle where you're busy on a project at a time. Then you've got like a bit of a relaxation period where you start thinking about an exit, but you're kind of comfortable because you've got a bit more downtime and you've got that space to, I guess, relax and think about your next steps. And you get kind of stuck into this boom and bust cycle, as I like to call it, where nothing really happens, nothing really changes. You want to exit the industry because you want more ownership in your work, you want to see the tangible outcomes of things, and you feel like it's the next step in your career, but nothing really changes year on year, and you get stuck in that cycle. Now, the way you can actually exit analysis paralysis is through an operator framework that I personally developed, okay? And this is a way I like to think about aligning your Big Four consulting experience into the correct industry roles and actually applying and being successful with those as well. So what is the operator framework? So it's a way to think about positioning your consulting experience in a way that directly translates to industry roles, and subsequently where you can actually translate your consulting experience into the commercial outcomes that industry hiring managers are actually looking for. So I'm just going to talk through the operator framework and the three components to it. So component number one, and this is actually defining the business outcome that you want to be responsible for when moving to industry. So to give you some examples of business outcomes here, you might want to think about cost, you might want to think about margin, you might want to think about risk, operational efficiency, these business outcomes. Now, over your tenure in consulting, you likely would have been on projects where the outcome might have touched multiple of these business outcomes, but there might be one particular business outcome that you want to be responsible for and drive the outcomes for more than others. So you can pick that as an example. So you can pick operational efficiency as an example, or risk, or cost, or budget optimization, any of these. Now, component number two, once you've decided on the business outcome you want to be focused on for your role in industry, you want to naturally align that business outcome to one or two roles in industry that naturally align with that business outcome. So after you've aligned on one or two roles, I guess, that fit that business outcome and drive that business outcome, the final step for your CV is actually to translate that advisory experience into the commercial outcomes that industry hiring managers are looking for. So instead of using consulting language that you advised on the strategy or updated the slide deck or led the work stream, you want to be focused more on the outcomes that you actually achieved through this work, so that you increased operational efficiency by 200%. You led multi-million-dollar transformation initiatives that reduce risk for them by 2x for that particular company. So you see, instead of talking about, I guess, the what you did, you're talking about the the how and the so what, the actual outcomes driven approach with hard metrics. So I guess these are the 3 steps that you should follow in the operator framework, and it just gives you an easy way of thinking about things. If you're a bit confused, you're a bit stuck, you're stuck at analyzing what can I do, what role should I go to next, try not to overthink it too much. Use this framework to just drill down into a low level of detail, and then you can naturally start applying for the industry roles. So yeah, I've given the example myself as a senior BA, so just to kind of reiterate that again, the business outcome that I wanted to be responsible for was operational efficiency. That naturally led to senior BA roles, lead BA roles, and process improvement lead roles. And then afterwards, I actually translated that into outcomes-focused experience, talking about the way in which, based on my Big Four tenure, I improved operational efficiency through my various projects, and the how and the so what backed up by hard metrics as well on my CV. Now, to showcase the operator framework in practice and to help tailor it for any other roles, and just to give you guys a bit more of a flavor of how you can do it for whatever you're applying for, whether you're a consultant all the way up to, I guess, director grade at the Big Four, I'm going to show you a couple of live examples of the operator framework in practice that you can actually use yourself. So with no further ado, I'm just going to dive right into it. So we've got a couple of examples here on the screen. So I've chosen some different metrics here. So we've spoken about operational efficiency and myself being a senior BA. Example 1 that I want to talk about is the metric or the business outcome is operational continuity. And so when you pick that as a business metric, that naturally translates into a change management or change lead kind of role. Okay, so we've gone from business result, we know we want to target change lead roles. And now I've just given an example here of, I guess, how an advisory CV would look and how you could translate it correctly into an operator CV for hiring managers if you're targeting a change lead role. So a common trap might be that what you did would have been maybe that you drafted some communicated comms plans, conducted stakeholder impact assessments, and delivered training materials as a change lead or change manager would actually do, right? Now, for industry hiring managers, you want to focus less on the what you did, which is what the advisor CV does, and more on the how and the so what. So the operator CV fix here would be, again, just as an example, that you drove the end-to-end adoption of a new HR platform across 500 employees, achieving a 95% system utilization in week 1 and 0 drop in daily operational output. So you see the difference here, right? One is focused on the what, and the other is focused on the how and the so what, the action and the result in the operator CV. So there's also, it's backed up with lots of hard metrics. There's lots of numbers here. We know there's 500 plus employees involved, 95% system utilization, and we know that, I guess, the outcome that was altered was the drop in operational output as well. So it's clearly outcomes driven. There's tangible benefit and commercial ROI. Okay, and that's the lens that you guys should be thinking of if you want to apply for a change lead role. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to go through one other example as well. So the other one I prepared is, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess, cost or budget optimization. So a very common role, and a lot of Big Four consultants want to do after the Big Four is senior project manager or senior program manager roles, right? So the metric here, if you've been focused on cost budget optimization, looking at engagement management metrics, and cost out for various clients as well, and cost budget optimization is the business result you want to own. And so that naturally translates into senior project manager, senior program manager roles. So now that we know the roles we want to apply for, now we can tailor our CV specifically to a senior PM or a senior project manager or senior program manager. So an example of an advisory CV that I wouldn't necessarily recommend is managed PMO activities, tracked workstream status, and facilitated steering committee updates for a complex regulatory program. So it's very focused on the what you did, right? I guess the task. Now the operator CV, the fixed up CV here, is going to talk about the how and the so what. So you directed a $5 million cross-functional compliance initiative from business case through to integration, delivering a mandate 2 months ahead of schedule while managing a team of 15. So you see the difference. It's very outcomes driven. There's lots of hard metrics here. There's a clear result as well. So hopefully that's helpful and gives you guys a flavor of how you can actually translate your advisory Big Four experience into the commercial outcomes that industry hiring managers are looking for when hiring for industry roles as well, and whatever that role may be. So the operator framework, it's a very quick and easy framework to use, and yeah, it'll just help you, I guess, be a bit clearer and a bit less confused on what roles you can apply for. So always just start with the outcome, maybe one that you've been familiar with driving across your projects. Have a little think, be like, right, I've been working on these 5 or 10 engagements. This is the business outcome I've been focused on. This is the one I've been most commonly focused on, whether that's cost, budget, or that's anything else, risk, margin, as we've spoken about. Try and line up 1 or 2 roles, and then drill down in your CV to reflect that outcome-driven experience for those particular roles in industry. So you don't actually need more data. What you do need is to just make a decision, okay? You need to be clear on the outcomes, you need to be clear on the role, and then you just need to go and apply for the roles and not waste time and not be stuck in the cycle if you do want to transition into industry from consulting. For anyone that's interested, I've created a free roadmap on how I personally transitioned to industry from the Big Four in consulting in 5 weeks. You can head over to my YouTube bio, and there's a link there that will take you to my website, georgeoptimize.com. You can download the 6 or 7 page PDF which outlines that roadmap in detail, including how I transitioned and how you guys can do the same and copy my framework. Now, if you want help crafting a personalized roadmap, I also offer free transition audits. Again, the link's in my YouTube bio. You can go and book a slot there, and we'll sit down and assess your personal situation and help you understand how you can land a senior industry role in the next 90 days and progress with your career the way that you see fit. Please subscribe to my channel for weekly content on transition strategies from leaving the Big Four consulting and landing a senior role in industry. Again, I hope you guys found today's video useful, and I will see you in the next one.